I switched on the light and made my way toward the bedroom, assuming my unfaithful wife was asleep. But before I could process anything, a sharp, searing pain erupted in my face, forcing me to the ground. Dazed and unable to rise, I looked up as a shadowed figure stepped closer, looming over me. "This is it for you," he declared, his voice chillingly calm. That night had started like any other. I came home after yet another grueling 14-hour day at the finance firm, where the motto seemed to be, if you're not completely drained, you're not working hard enough. Exhaustion was my constant shadow, but tonight there was a glimmer of hope. I could finally rest. The house was quiet, bathed in dim lighting. I figured Amelia, my wife, was already in bed. But the moment I flipped the bedroom light on and caught a fleeting shadow out of the corner of my eye, I knew something wasn't right. Before I could even register what was happening, a fist smashed into my face, sending me sprawling onto the floor. The pain was blinding, my head pounding as my vision swam. Struggling to focus, I spotted a tall figure emerging from the darkness. "This is where it ends for you," the man repeated, his tone ice-cold and deliberate. 6 years earlier, my life had felt like a dream come true. I met Amelia at a networking event in Prague, and she was impossible to ignore. Her dark curls framed a face so striking it belonged on the cover of a magazine. At the time, she was studying architecture, and I was carving out a reputation in investment banking. Our bond was immediate. We connected over shared aspirations and the drive to create something extraordinary. Amelia wanted to design iconic buildings that would stand the test of time, while I wanted to finance projects that left a lasting mark on the world. After getting married, we settled in a stunning home in Vienna, a space filled with art and elegance. On the surface, life seemed perfect, but as my career skyrocketed, the demands of my job swallowed me whole. Late nights, constant travel, and endless deadlines became my reality. Amelia began to voice her frustration, saying she felt invisible, like my job was my true partner. I tried to compensate with lavish gifts and weekend trips, but it was clear the spark we once shared was fading, and I had no idea how to rekindle it. The signs were subtle at first. Amelia, who had always been transparent, started guarding her phone as though it held state secrets. She'd leave the room for phone calls, giggling at texts she never shared with me. When I asked, she dismissed my concerns, saying it was just her group of friends. I wanted to believe her. Trust was the bedrock of our relationship, wasn't it? Then came the business trip. I was supposed to be in Zurich for 3 days to finalize a major deal. But on the second day, my meeting wrapped up early, and I decided to surprise Amelia by coming home a day ahead of schedule. I imagined her joy when she saw me walk through the door, but what I encountered was far from what I'd hoped. The first thing that struck me was the sleek black Audi parked in our driveway. It was a car that oozed wealth and sophistication, the kind of vehicle that turned heads. None of Amelia's friends drove anything like it. My stomach churned as I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it belonged to a client, but unease gnawed at me. Inside, the house was eerily quiet. Setting my bag down, I followed the faint sound of voices to the living room. There, I froze. Amelia's laughter, soft and intimate, floated through the air, a sound I hadn't heard in months. She sat on the couch with a man I didn't recognize. He was well-dressed and exuded a confidence that felt almost predatory. He leaned in closer than seemed appropriate, and Amelia's hand rested casually on his knee. My world shifted beneath me. Fury and heartbreak surged through me, but I didn't confront them, not then. I needed proof. Quietly, I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo before retreating to the hallway, my thoughts spinning. Who was this man? How long had this been going on? The following week was a blur. I pretended everything was normal while piecing together the truth. I hired a private investigator, and the findings confirmed what I had feared. The man's name was Victor, a real estate developer who had been working with Amelia for months. Their relationship had extended far beyond professional boundaries. They met in secret at hotels, and sometimes, disgustingly, in my own home. The investigator handed me a file packed with evidence, photographs, call logs, and text messages. Amelia's words, captured in those exchanges, felt like daggers to my heart. "Lucas is too busy for me, Victor. You make me feel alive again." I could have confronted her on the spot, but I wanted her to fully understand the weight of her actions. This wasn't a moment to rush. I needed a plan, knowing I'd only have one chance to make it count. That night, when I switched on the bedroom light, the last thing I expected was Victor standing there. He must have noticed my car in the driveway and decided to strike first, catching me off guard. His attack was swift, but I reacted faster. As he leaned over to deliver another blow, I kicked hard, connecting with his stomach. He staggered backward, and I used the opportunity to scramble to my feet. "What the hell are you doing in my house?" I shouted, my voice trembling with rage. Amelia appeared in the doorway, her face drained of color. "Lucas, stop. It's not what it looks like. Not what it looks like." I barked, laughing bitterly. "So, you didn't bring him here? You didn't betray me." Victor regained his composure and started to move toward me, but I pointed at him, my fingers steady and threatening. "Take one more step, and I promise you'll regret it." He hesitated, his self-assured demeanor faltering for the first time. "Amelia, let's go," he said, grabbing her arm. "No one is going anywhere," I growled, my voice low and menacing. "Not until I'm done." I reached for the dossier I had compiled, filled with evidence of their betrayal, and threw it onto the bed. "This," I said, glaring at Amelia, "is what you've been doing behind my back. Months of lies, sneaking around and disrespecting our marriage. Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" Amelia's eyes welled up with tears, her voice cracking. "Lucas, please, let me explain." "There's nothing left to explain." I cut her off coldly. "You made your decision. Now it's my turn." Victor's entire career was built on trust and reputation, qualities he clearly didn't possess. I had my investigator compile a detailed report of their affair, complete with hotel receipts, photos, and text transcripts. I sent the evidence anonymously to his largest investors. Within days, his business began to crumble as clients withdrew their funding. Amelia wasn't spared either. Her architecture firm had a strict code of ethics, and I knew the scandal would tarnish her reputation. I sent evidence of her indiscretions, proof that she had misused company resources and time to meet Victor, to her HR department. She was immediately suspended, her once promising career now hanging by a thread. The next day, I filed for divorce. With undeniable evidence of her infidelity, the courts ruled in my favor. I kept the house, the assets, and, most importantly, my dignity. Amelia, on the other hand, was left with nothing but regret. Months passed, and through mutual acquaintances, I learned that Victor had lost his company and fled the country. Amelia, once the rising star of her firm, was living in a small apartment and working freelance to make ends meet. She had reached out to apologize, but I ignored her attempts. There was nothing more to say. As for me, I found peace in rebuilding my life. I focused on my career, my health, and rediscovering my happiness. The betrayal had shattered me, but it also taught me a valuable lesson. I deserved someone who valued loyalty, honesty, and respect. I would never settle for anything less again. That night, when I turned on the light, I thought my world was falling apart, but in truth, it marked the beginning of something new. Sometimes, the people who betray us teach us the most valuable lesson of all, to walk away and never look back. Betrayal doesn't define us. It's how we rise from it that shapes who we are. And sometimes, the best revenge is realizing that you never needed them to feel whole.